Trybien, Donald
Hi,
Trump
Lunchbillion.
wants to ban TikTok. What do you think? What do you
The
think about
federal
this?
go- the federal government cannot interfere with my freedom of speech.
But but
My freedom to make fan cams and dance and sing along to silly songs while making fun of old people is my God-given right as an American citizen.
but China's got their eyes out there, and they're getting our data. It's not they're finding all this information out about us. They're spying on us. You know, only the American government is allowed to do that to the American people, not China. This is bullshit.
I don't need fucking TikTok for China to steal all my information. They already have it from all the other bullshit gotcha game and web and mobile applications I've been playing for years. Uh, uh,
Actually, I want
TikTok
to
is the
ask you
least of them.
how the Gacha game's going. Tell me about Gacha games.
So ever talk? I mean, welcome back to Bros in a Landfill. This is a gotcha game talk. It was a long time coming.
Ooh,
My
misdirection,
name,
cold open, bam!
my name's Trybien. I am the mobile game aficionado of this cast, and we also have Lunchbillion, the actual decent human being on this cast.
Well, here's the thing. I have a horrible confession. Set like the other day, I opened up a tab and typed in cookie clicker, and so now I have this running on my browser, and
Okay, but
I haven't closed it yet. So
but
I'm
does
pretty much as bad
cookie
as you are.
no does Cookie Clicker have microtransactions
Thank God it
and
doesn't.
and does it have random drops of loot like loot box
It
loot
has
boxes?
random, like every now and again, like a little golden cookie will float across the screen, and if you click on it, you get a massive bonus. But if you're not watching the
But
page, you're never going to notice it, and you're going to miss out on
yeah, yeah,
trillions of cookies.
but can you use money to get the cookie to show up more quickly?
No, but like the cookies aren't sexy either.
Okay. So, since we're doing the Gacha game talk, I'm gonna do a quick short history of my Gacha game experience. I mean, for those who are inexperienced in this talk, I talked a bit about Dragalia Lost. We had Guardian Dreamer on as a guest that episode. It was like I think 2 years ago in October when the game originally came out. Yeah. So if you want to hear our thoughts about Dragalia Lost, that's back then. That's a pretty decent Gacha game that it's been going on for a little too.
Should we
I mean,
explain what a gotcha game is?
okay, so if you haven't heard of the magical Japanese term called gachapon, there is these machines in Japan. You'll see them in America too, but not in the same extent. But they've got like these little capsules of random goodies, like of characters, keychains, or whatever merch they're selling, and you put your money in your yen. You turn the thing and you get a random capsule. And chances are you got a shit capsule because let's be real, the rates for your rare and your ultra rare merch is going to be like super fucking low. And if you do get those rare capsules, you're the cool kid on the block, or you can make some decent money off those. I guess I don't know. I haven't really done gachapon before. I've only played gacha
You
games, and you
haven't
can't.
sold small toys to children before?
Yeah, nah, I'm not into that shit. I only like digital goods. Doesn't
Can I just say
like
that
I've
like
got.
this gotcha thing is like the best part of Shenmue. Uh,
Really?
yeah, because you can like go over to this machine and put coins in it, and one of them sometimes pops out Sonic characters or other Sega characters, and it's like fuck yeah, and it's like this really long animation, and then he's like, maybe I should buy another, and then you click yes for more because of course you want everything at once, and you want to spend all your money on the first day. Ugh, great game.
So going forward, like 'cause with that is like gachapon can be really exciting because it's like, oh, you spend a little bit of money, you have a chance of getting a rare thing, and if you get the rare thing, oh my god, it feels fucking fantastic because just like winning the lottery, low chances of winning an awesome thing feels great. And it
Right.
can make your day, and it can use up all of the dopamine in your brain and make you feel depressed for the rest of your life. Because
Hey
your
man,
life's never going to be better.
better to burn, burn bright than dimly for a
Yeah.
long time.
But and the only way to rekindle that spirit is to buy more gachapon, and try to hit that high again. And going from there, well, making toys costs money, and there's only a limited amount of them.
Right.
So, how can you make more money with a larger customer base that has no product that you can minimize production costs? Oh, I know. Let's make it fully digital.
Right. So now
Rather
you're
than
putting in coins for PNGs.
Yes. So why make a physical good that someone can lose or whatever when you can have each individual person have the ease of access to push a button on their phone to spend money to get PNGs as frequently as they possibly could want and drain their bank accounts, all for the small cost of development of the app and running the servers. Like, ooh, so that money just keeps skyrocketing, assuming that you make a decent asking. But
No, when you put it that way, this
people,
is an amazing fucking business idea. It's amazing.
um,
It's got to be so
yeah,
cheap to make these.
yeah. But you've got to make yourself stand out from the crowd. Having sexy PNGs like only lasts so long when the market's flooded with apps that gives you sexy PNGs. I mean, if you wanted to look at sexy PNGs, why not just go onto a sexypng.com website or whatever? Like, no.
Sexypng.com. Is that a
Would
domain?
you?
Can we make that?
Sure. Let's do it right now. But the real way to separate the crowd is to make it a game. Make it something that people are going to want to invest their time into. Make a routine out of playing it. Maybe having the rarer gachapon characters makes the game easier and gives you a leg up. So not only do you want the sexy PNG because it looks sexy, but also because it makes you feel powerful. Think about all the money you could rake in, because it's not just a matter about having the coolest characters, it's about having the best characters.
Yes. Wait,
And
so
the top of,
that means that if they're powerful, that means that they're attached to like some kind of mini game, or it's just that they have like gold stars on it, and it's like it says that it's cool.
well, it's the same logic behind the trading card game, really. I mean, you buy packs of cards over and over and over again because you want that rare card that you need for your deck, so you can go to the local tournaments and beat all the tough people. Because if you have the rare card, you win the game. So if you have the rare gachapon, you win the game.
Wow, the sanctity of competition is nothing
However,
before the might of
however,
consumerism.
however, let's not just stop there. Let's play this even more intelligently.
All right.
What if we made the games entirely free to play and gave gave the players plenty of free roles? And when we say roles here, we're talking about rolling for the gachapon. You're pooling. You're making pools. You're pulling out characters from the pool, the pool of characters. You're making a pool PULL into the pool POLL or POOL. I can't fucking spell. Um, and with that magic right there, by giving these people like maybe 5, 10 free rolls for these characters, give them that excitement of drawing rare characters. Maybe we even purposefully give them some rare characters to give them that excitement at the beginning, to just show them how much value these characters have. Maybe we can get them to start spending money when they otherwise wouldn't have. What if we get them to play every day through daily tasks?
The crazy
That
thing is that like you're giving them something, but what's more important is the fact that you're taking it away a second later and creating that emptiness where the excitement of pulling used to be.
Yeah, and you create that routine in their daily life. This gachapon isn't just a game. It's not just a pastime, but it becomes a part-time job. It becomes a way of life, a routine. It becomes part of the player. It becomes part of their identity, and they form communities around it. Whether because it's got an interesting gameplay mechanic, because it's got a cool cast, because it's got a story that goes along with it, or because it has like a fun PvP element. If we can capitalize on some inane, like simple thing, we can create a user base that gives us infinite money.
Infinite.
Like no joke, like so one of the most influential gacha games out there is Fake Grand Order. It was probably, I think it's like worldwide the biggest one, or was the biggest one for a long period of time. That was like one of Sony's biggest revenue streams. Like we're like Sony, the company Sony, which owns Aniplex, because Aniplex had the rights for it, or like owns it, or I don't know the licensing or the rights things. So Sony has the rights to the Fate universe. Like Sony's, I think one of Sony's subsidiaries owns Fate. Therefore, Sony owns Fate, so they get money from it. Fate Grand Order made Sony shit tons of money.
I was like really anticipating a real figure.
Like I mean,
Yeah, fuck it, let's do some research, man.
Yeah, Fate Grand Order gross revenue. Okay. Just in 2017, Fate Grand Order grossed $982 million.
Well, shit. And it probably cost them like $5 to make it.
Yeah. As of March 2019, the game has grossed more than $3 billion worldwide.
Oh my god. Dude,
Fate,
why aren't we making a gacha? Seriously.
Like, I'm not even talking about, like, we're not even talking about Fate as a series as like Fate as like this multiverse of shows, games, visual novels, light novels, media. Just this gacha game, which kind of almost serves as a hub of a crossover of all these franchises, like grossed Sony more than $3 billion.
So at what point does the gacha game become like the primary continuity of Fate? If it has the biggest audience and makes the most money, then like, is it not the prime Fate experience?
Well, actually, what I find with gacha games is it's less about Grand Order being the prime Fate experience. It's more used as an advertising tool for the other properties in the series. So you'll see crossover events happening where they might have like the anime like one of the animes crossover, or you'll have characters from other media popping in. Madoka Magica Magic Record does the same thing, where you'll have events that tie over to, that like have a crossover with certain side stories or like some of the manga spin-offs. And then playing these events makes me think, you know what? I actually want to go buy that manga now and play it. And
while it's building an attachment to these characters and these scenarios,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's incorporating them into your daily life. And so eventually you're going to think, what if these were in something that was fun and interesting?
It's like people spend money for the units in the game, and they get attached to them. It's like, I want to know more. I'm gonna go buy the manga because now I'm attached to this character. Like that's like no joke.
Shit, I lost my sound. Hang on.
Oh fuck.
Cut this bit out. Okay, I've returned. Sorry, where were we?
So, okay, I was gonna say, like, no joke. Like this year, like of January of this year, Fake Grand Order surpassed 4 billion. So yeah.
4 billion.
And I'll even go further to say that, like, okay, so Fake Grand Order is probably one of the older, like, more influential gacha games, but Jesus fuck, it's dated. Like, it doesn't have an auto system. The gameplay is slow. The writing can be amazing, but the writing can also be incredibly fan servicey. It's got some of the worst gacha. It's got some of the worst gacha rates in the genre. Like it's not even funny. Like how bad gacha rates. Like
I guess if you've got people by the balls though, then like they'll that's all part of it, you know.
Well, Fate is such a huge Fate is such a huge series that people will put money in for those characters, but like let me like just for example of like how dated this is. Modern gacha games include what's known as a pity system. So if like unless if you're something like Dragalia Lost, where Dragalia Lost rates are just completely like, I don't know how Dragalia Lost makes any money because its rates are too good. Like like it hands out so many material left and right, and it's so easy to pull like the limited time service. Like it's so easy to pull the limited time characters. You only need one copy of them because that's another thing. A lot of these gacha games, you need multiple copies of the characters if you want to max them out.
Right, you have to combine the different
Like,
entities
well,
of
no,
them.
like for example, in Fake Grand Order, there's and this is in other games too. If you want to max out their special like their special attack, the Noble Phantasm, you have to pull 5 copies of that character.
Shit.
Now, let's say that the like you got like a 0.25% chance of pulling a very specific character. Like you're not you're not gonna get it.
Yeah, that's gonna take
Uh,
years of your life.
Yeah, and
Or lots of money.
no. But the other thing is, some characters are limited time, so like you only have like maybe like a week or two to pull a character, and that's where the money bowl grabbing comes from. It's nuts.
Man,
That's
like I can feel like the two halves of me, like fighting for control of my soul, where one is like, this is like the most exploitative, cynical, destructive thing ever, and the other part of me is like, I have to make a gacha game.
I,
um,
yeah.
but like, okay, third half. If there's 1.5 lunch billions. I kind of get why it's fun. Like I probably haven't talked about this very much. I mostly just make fun of you for playing gacha games, but
Of course.
I played Fire Emblem Heroes. Heroes was it?
Fire Emblem.
I get mixed up with Warriors sometimes, but yeah, I played
Yeah,
Fire
no,
Emblem
I did the
Heroes.
same thing. Yeah, I know.
And like I got it right because now this is a series I already liked, and they're games that, I mean, it makes perfect sense for a gacha game, really, because there are shit tons of Fire Emblem characters. There's like freaking many more than you can even really pay attention to in one playthrough in each game. And so like, and I've played all the GBA ones. And so Fire Emblem Heroes comes out, and all these like completely minor like characters you'd think you'd never hear about or see ever again have like new art, and it's like, hey, it's like Greg, that guy with a bow from that one game, and you're like, shit, I want to get Greg because he's such a
From
weird
that
and
one
random
game.
specific thing from that one game. And like, I really wanted to get all of my random, absurdly specific favorites from across these 3 games. And it was also kind of a Fire Emblem game. So like, it was still fun. I honestly didn't hate it, but I can also see how like if I had just been a little bit more invested, and if I was a little bit richer, I could have fucked up. I could have fucked things up.
Yeah, if I liked strategy RPGs more, and I thought the story, like if the story wasn't,
Oh yeah, the story in Fire
I-
Emblem Heroes is not good.
yeah, it commits the cardinal sin for me of the story is just, oh, we gotta cross over to other worlds to stop bad people, and we gotta team up with all the heroes from all these
Yeah, it's not super
different.
creative, right? But though I don't really know how
Yeah.
else you'd do it, because like Fire Emblem's one of those
Okay,
games where they like rewrite the entire like universe of it like every couple of games.
I am going to use an incredibly apt counterexample just now because I know the so so and this goes into one of the new the new gacha games I've kind of started playing casually. So the Tales of series, very much like Fire Emblem, is this game series where each uh
They like make a
and
bunch of new kingdoms, right? And like
yeah, well,
new
it's like, yeah,
lore and
each
stuff every time.
like each new game is sort of like its own it's like its own world. You'll have some that are sequels, or you'll have the example of Zisteria and Bizzaria, where Bizzaria is a prequel that takes takes place thousands of years before Zisteria.
Right.
But generally speaking, Tales of games take place in their own universes and their own timelines. So A few years ago, it was either a year or two ago, there was a Gacha game that came out called Tales of the Rays,
Okay.
which did the Fire Emblem Heroes sort of thing of, oh, we're summoning heroes from all of these different generations. The story involves us having this MacGuffin that lets us go into different universes, and we have to stop we have to like correct like the things happening in those universes. And it was downright awful because it's a cynical ass storytelling method that's not real, that relies too heavily on established property rather than telling its own unique story. Like, I think it's one thing if you're having like some sort of silly crossover story, but when you're extending that over into this whole like game experience, it's exhausting.
I mean, I don't know if I like. I mean, it's not the most creative premise, but I feel like if you at least made a good story out of it, then like I'd be more willing to accept it. But Fire Emblem Heroes doesn't really try that hard, and sometimes it feels like as if it's written for like a child, like with really telegraphed plot twists and stuff like that.
Well, here's more of my point. It's like if you're telling a creative story, you don't need to do those sorts of crossovers, because the problem when you're doing those sorts of crossovers, they always lead into the same sorts of dialogues of, oh, interesting world we don't know the people in. Oh, who are you? Oh, I am person. Oh, you have one of two things. You have the one where it's like you're trying to blend in, or you have the one where you're like the people are transparent about like the issue going on. So like,
and then it's just like it's all these characters that like we want to see how they'd interact, but instead they're just spending a lot of time talking about how come we're in this world, how do we fix this or whatever.
And a lot of that comes from more of the issue. It's less of the crossover issue. It's more of the issue of you don't have an established setting because you're going to all these pre-established settings. So you're not really expanding the world. You're just exploring already explored worlds.
Yeah, and I think stories like this teach you the value of why regular stories are about characters who live in a place and know what it is, and are not like what is this world.
So, and continuing on with this counterexample, recently the new Tales of Gacha game, Tales of Crestoria, takes place in its own world. It still has crossover with the other games, but instead of the characters going to these other universes, just all the characters from the other games just so happen to be in this world, and seems to be no explanation. They're just residents of this world. They're the characters from another game, but they're in this world and they serve their own purpose.
Weird.
Like,
but
it's the same.
Maybe that's easier, you know. Like,
well, I think.
I mean, you can just make a new continuity in which everybody exists, like rather than like pulling it from their own worlds. Like, what if there was a world where they all lived in the same thing?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, because when you're dealing with a Gacha game, you're automatically when you're dealing with a Gacha game of an established property, the reason why you're doing it is because you want to sell these characters and sell the collection of these fan favorite characters, and then have the special events where they're in a swimsuit or when they're in a sexy Santa outfit, because that literally sells money.
You know, it's funny. We were talking about how like the seasons are swapped in the different hemispheres. Like a sexy Santa outfit would make a lot more sense in New Zealand, where it's summertime at Christmas. Just saying. If you want to be a weird bikini Santa, come do it over here.
Nice. But you have Crestoria, which I'm not completely sold on the overall game experience itself, but the story is actually and the story and the characters are actually really good, and that shouldn't be surprising for Tales of games, because the Tales of series tend to have really solid stories. Even like the weaker games in the series, they tend to be more weaker because of their gameplay or because of very linear dungeons, not because of the writing. The writing and the music are generally some of my favorite parts of the series. But like Tales of Crestoria, as opposed to Tales of the Rays, completely shunts the original game, like the original like real-time battles, goes for a turn-based RPG, and just tells a story that it wants to tell, which it's something like is a story that appeals to me, given that it's weirdly very relevant in terms of. So the gimmick of Tales of Crestoria's story is that everybody has these these gemstone things that they're given to like at birth or whatever.
Okay.
And
that sounds nice.
And they can use it to record events and send it to every town in the world, basically, or in the continent or wherever this is taking place.
Wow, so they've got the internet.
Yeah, so yeah, basically everybody has a smartphone gem, and what it's typically used for is recording crimes and then showing the world that someone committed a
It
crime.
is phones.
Yeah, and what happens from there is that fuck, my microphone fucked over. Um, uh, and what happens from there is if the crime is deemed bad enough by everybody, they start wishing for the person's condemnation, and if the wishes for condemnation are strong enough, the person like that individual's gemstone shatters, leaves a mark of sin on them, and then these magical beings come and murder them.
Well, well, it is right. So it's that's a fucking that's a smartphone allegory if I ever
Yeah,
saw one.
and the way that it's worked into the story is that like, and I think it's really cleverly done through the first chapter where it's slowly introducing these things, and it does like a heel turn sort of situation. It's not really a spoiler because it's kind of shown at the start, but the main character uh, commits a murder. Like, and if you're going through the story, you see it's for justified reasons.
Sure.
But the because only the moment of him committing the murder is recorded, he is essentially like bec-
There's no
since there's no
context. Yes,
context.
he's just
So,
branded
so
as a heartless dude.
yeah, he's branded as a heartless murderer, and the way that justice works in this world, it's like, oh well, now he's condemned, and now these magical beings are going after and chasing and murdering him.
Wait. So hang on a second. So you're about to tell me that this is the plot to a Gacha game?
Yes.
I mean, that seems kind of doesn't that seem kind of weird or discordant that like
Oh,
it's
and
a
is that
phone
no? The
game
story, the
that like
story is
encourages you to
okay.
be addicted to your phone when the story
I
is
know
kind
the
of
story.
about the dangers of the online phone world?
Yeah, the story is incredibly uncomfortable, but like I find it's uncomfortable in that good way where, like, it's like
Well, I mean, I
I
guess
don't
that
I don't
message needs to like I don't know, like if as a story it's trying to like point out some of the problems with how we engage with, smartphones and media and stuff. I get that it makes sense to I suppose the audience that you'd want that story to reach
I
are
think
people
it's
who use
I one
phones,
sec.
right? So it makes
I think
sense
it's
to put it on on a phone. But it's hilarious that it's
yeah, that's what
also
I'm
in a
saying.
genre that is really good at extracting money from people who are addicted to their
I
phones.
know. No, it's hilarious right now because we're going on with the summer event, so we have all these characters in swimsuits.
That's
Like
so
the
crazy.
game was the game was just released, and now we're in the summer event.
I can't tell if this weird discordance makes the game like worse because it's undermining itself or more interesting because it's like consciously
I think
undermining
it's
itself and so it's like
um
whoa conflicting
I think well
emotions.
I'm gonna say this. So the Tales of series has always been like this series that both juggles um serious storytelling with silly anime hijinks. So one of the main like I say one of the main unique mechanics. It's not really that main or unique, but it's kind of it's a staple of the series. Is there's this mechanic called the side story. So every so often while you're going through the your adventure, like you'll have like a little thing pop up on your screen that says, "Oh, hit this button to see the side story," and it's just characters generally goofing around, like it's completely optional, but the characters are just goofing around on, like doing a little skit. Actually, it's called a skit. It's not even called side story. It's called skit. You see the characters doing a little silly skit. Like it might be in the middle of like some like major like conflict between two countries, like a war's going on, people are dying, and then this characters are goofing around. But then and then like maybe like an hour later, you're going through the story, and there's this big dramatic reveal. Like like the Tales of series has always been like a mixture of this fun goof campiness and serious storytelling, which
Well,
I
I
mean
mean
is
that
kind
that's
of
different, right? Like I mean
it's kind of
that's like
no,
a bit of that's like
no,
a bit
but
of tonal levity, not like
no, but
tonal
what no,
discordance.
but what I was where I was kind of going in this is that there is this like one of the main characters, who is the character Vicious, who is this. He's known as the Great Transgressor. So
Wow.
if you've sinned and you've been condemned, you're called a transgressor. This guy is called the Great Transgressor. He's supposed to be like this like mass murderer who's burned down villages and is this
Kicked a dog once.
terrible being. Yeah,
He
and
he,
then,
he
but
puts the milk in before the cereal.
exactly, you know what's up. You know it. Yeah, you got it. But with Vicious, Vicious is absolutely the most hilarious character in the story. He's supposed to be this awful character. He comes into the main character's life right after he's been disowned by the world, and is like, "Yo, what's up, homie? You fucking gonna let those things kill you? Man, you're stupid. I mean, if you want them to kill you, I'll let them kill you, but that's up to you, man." And then like the main character's like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to die. Maybe like I want to, like I've done this terrible thing and I don't like the main character I've described him as like a SpongeBob type of character. He's kind of like that cuckoo. He's like that Boy Scout cuckoo cloud. I don't know cuckoo, but he's that Boy Scout character who's yeah, he's like the almost like Boy Scout, almost a Cloud Cuckoo Lander, where he's a super ignorant simpleton who just has this like very narrow ideal of what's good and bad.
Right.
So even though he can see that, like, even though he's been in this situation where like anybody can see that he was justified for killing the person he did, he's also like, yeah, I sinned. I should probably be killed. Like I deserve this.
Right.
Like, and then like Vicious just comes in like, are you sure you want to die? Are you sure? Oh man, you're such a loser for wanting to die. Fuck, I'm gonna go get a fucking beer and get drunk.
Wow.
Like, and then the main character says, you know what? Maybe I don't want to die. And then Vicious is like, okay, cool. Just fucking own your sin like a fucking man. But you sinned, so what? Own it. Like you're like that doesn't mean you should be fucking killed. Fucking like puts this energy beam into him, and like then Kinetic gets superpowers because that's how this universe works. So if you sinned
okay.
and you beat up, so like he's the arbiter of giving bad people superpowers because he's just like, live your life as you want it, man. Like,
Yeah, freaking.
I don't know if he's
kick a few dogs, burn down a few villages, put the milk in
Exactly.
before the cereal, man. You know.
But what I would say is that the overall theme, I think, as a story is that just because people commit bad things doesn't mean that they should be like there's I think it's favoring atonement over just wiping people out, or like erasing them from society, because that's the analogy. It's like you're erasing them from society. So it's like, oh, this person did a bad thing. Does that mean they deserve to die, or is there actual atonement they should be having? And there's I think chapter 4 has this like really interesting scene where they meet up with a bunch of these people who have committed, who have been marked as these criminals, and some even you have characters talking about the terrible things that they did, but they just want to live simple lifestyle and they want to try to make the best of, like, they're clearly not the bad person that they once were, and I like how it raises those questions of, like, why must
What is
what's the-
justice?
yeah, like it has to.
What is the purpose
on one
of
hand,
justice?
and it really it deals into these themes of like how a lot of deals with these themes of like how like fun and satisfying it is to see someone get what they deserve, like we humans throughout society, throughout history, have kind of get their kicks off of pushing their justice onto other people without really understanding their situations or understanding how they feel.
Of course.
You know? Yeah. But that's kind of why I kind of like it. Is like it kind of balances these different stories of some characters who do bad things, but maybe it hits the things that, like, there are people who do bad things and probably do deserve it. There are bad people who did bad things but they don't deserve it. And then there are people who didn't do bad things but they're being labeled as, but they've been
Are there
framed
people
for
in
a
this
crime that
universe
they
who
didn't do.
just like said something racist, or is that kind of beyond the scope of this storytelling?
Racism is such a hard issue to do in this type of story because when you're dealing with these sorts of more medieval fantasy stories, you're dealing with a completely different population sets. So
I
I
didn't
don't
know.
I
I actually had no idea
yeah.
what like level of technology or like
Yeah, no, this is yeah,
what time period it was.
this is like this is like pure fantasy.
Right, but they could,
Uh
you could do something. You
yeah.
could, he could
Yeah.
have said something bad about goblins.
Yeah. Goblin Slayer, LOL. No, I would be, I would be, I don't know how I'd feel if they did tackle that subject, just because it's such a hard subject to tackle because it's so complicated. Like, dealing with racism and tribalism,
Well, I mean,
especially when you're,
fucking, if you're gonna make this story about like people being
yeah,
like canceled or whatever, or destroyed, murdered, taken out of society because of like no one's like looking at the
yeah,
deeper picture of what's going on, then
no,
like I think it would be make perfect sense to
no,
make a
but,
weird goblin
yeah, no,
allegory racism
but,
story.
yeah, no, no, but at the same time, almost feel like it's a bit more powerful when you're talking about like even like some of the worst crimes. Like we're talking about like we can talk about like how bad racism and stuff is, but these are like people who are being accused of murder and like and stuff like racism as a whole slew of well racism can mean a lot of different things depending on who you're talking to, what situation, the intent, the
Right. That's
whatever.
why it would be an interesting topic for this
Yeah.
universe and for this
Oh yeah, no,
story.
I guess
Like, or
it's
here's what
not.
I think. Like,
No,
I personally, I find the idea of like being in trouble for saying something a bit uncouth that you didn't intend, or maybe you did intend.
yeah,
That's more relatable to me than like if I
yeah,
murdered a whole village of people. I do
yeah. I
think it's
guess
an
let me.
interesting concept of like I think there's a value in having this horrible murderer character because it's like, well, he makes a useful example, a useful benchmark of like, okay,
Yeah.
well, what
Well, I
should we
mean, part of the
do?
thing is, well, part of the thing is we're just told he's done all these terrible things. We never actually seen him do anything bad at this till this point of the story. It's just we're told he's done these things. It's kind of like he's kind of like this urban mythful legend.
Right.
Um,
Well, I mean, are they
but
gonna follow up on that? Like, where is that going?
yeah, I'm interested. Like the story is still like a lot of the time with these gotcha games, the like chapters are released over a period of time. It's like I mean
Yeah.
you've played Fire Emblem Heroes. It's not
Yeah,
like
I
you have
played the
everything
story
all at
up
once.
until that point.
Like I would be interested in them seeing them do a race related thing, like or like a tribalism related thing. It's just I'd be worried because it's a very difficult subject to do. Not that they couldn't do it well, but I'd it's not something I'd want to see fumbled because that's one of those topics that's very easy to one way or the other like you can fall it can easily fall into one of two camps of undermining the issue or uh, making the issue seem simpler than it is.
Hmm.
And especially if we're talking about talking about Japanese developers, like
No, that's
Japan
the
is
thing. These guys like are just not super
yeah,
clued in on this stuff. So like I do
yeah.
understand a little bit wanting to stay in your lane, I guess. Like I think it's
Like
pretty
I would
clear just from looking at Japanese media that like they're not having the exact same cultural conversations that say America is having at the
yeah.
moment. So like it's
It,
kind of a big ask to be like, "Hey, make a story about this."
Yeah, like I would really love to see the story. Like I'd love to see stories that delving into the like told in a similar way of like looking into like racism in this sort of like not just looking at a bubble of oh someone's racist, but like dealing within like making things a bit more relatable in a sense. Or I I like it when we look into like as like the stories like looking into like how things might not be as simple as we see things because
Right. Well,
human
like,
beings are over
what if someone's
humans are
raised to
incredibly
like
complicated.
be to have a certain set of beliefs, like from the day they're born in
Yeah,
a very insular community, uh,
yeah,
or maybe they're raised to kill people, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah. But that's
fits perfectly into the kind of
oh yeah,
story that this
yeah.
game is looking
I
at.
now I think we could like maybe have something in that similar vein where someone's raised up to be like a bad person and that's all like well what we'd consider a bad person and they don't really know any better. Like that's something that I would think would be interesting for to see from a Japanese perspective.
Sure.
Like just maybe just not from a race perspective, just
Yeah. Well,
for the reasons
like I just
stated.
said, like you
Yeah,
that whole like I'm raising my kid to kill people or whatever is like
You know,
it's kind of
yeah,
similar,
yeah,
and you can
yeah,
tell a similar story without it being with like some parallels to racism, I guess.
yeah,
The idea that you can just inherit like ideas that
yeah,
are bad and they were taught to you like they were good.
yeah.
Um,
But I just like how it's like it's just showing like well it's just this allegory of how people are it's people are it's just so easy for people to just write someone off as a bad person rather than understanding. But but that goes so far as until like it comes back and bites you because the main character was one of those people. He had a very set belief of oh this is good and this is bad. Like he was one of those people being like cheering on like the transgressors getting wiped away from by the magical beings. I forget what they're called because I can't remember names for the life of me.
okay.
But yeah, but like he was one of those people that was going along with the system. He was cheering it on. He was like, "Yes, this is justice. This is right," and then he gets fucked by it in the end. Like, wait, literally, like it's
Literally, I think you
SpongeBob gets
mean
fucked.
figuratively, but okay.
No, SpongeBob gets fucked by cancel culture.
That's our episode title right there.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
that's the clickbait we're looking for.
yeah. I don't. I would, but that would definitely get us a strike from YouTube saying, "Oh, this isn't kid-friendly
SpongeBob
content."
gets fucked by cancel culture.
And then we just got like SpongeBob bending over, and then you have like a cell phone being. And
I
I'm not even gonna
I
finish
guess this
that.
is probably why well I don't know like I thinking about it it's probably true that this story would not be able to handle like a dicey subject like I've been talking about with any degree of nuance. And like
Hmm.
I'm sure that like this property is like the writing is good natured. I think they believe in what they're saying. But like I think a lot of anime is really lacking in kind of any subtlety whatsoever. It's not a subtle medium for the most part. It's like a
Well, I
giant
think
screaming, huge reactions. Like, um, you know, it's really good at being very passionate. But I think it's only occasionally that there's like a truly like kind of murky and complicated and philosophically interesting story told in an anime. I
mhm.
feel like that's just kind of where the medium's at. And this is not only an anime, it's like a gotcha game that is like designed
Yeah,
to like make you want to keep coming back in because it's making you feel good.
yeah, oh no, yeah,
It's like writing these important, layered, difficult characters and then selling them to you again, but with more booby showing. Like
yeah, no,
there's also just an opportunity that like if you push this plot line too far, you could alienate some of the people who are
oh
playing
yeah,
the game.
oh yeah, yeah,
For a gotcha game, like there's no reason to. It's meant to appeal to everybody who has money and poor self impulse. So like
oh yeah.
yeah, if anything,
Like
this now that I'm really saying this all out loud, this is probably a pretty problematic place to tell a story like this because it's like a conflict of
yeah,
interest.
yeah. Like where I stand, like the Tales of like part of for me part of the appeal of the Tales of series has always been its more like multifaceted, um, like it's multifaceted approach to storytelling, telling like these epic adventures with like like fuck I can't even like fuck like just good story writing with good characters with good character arcs. Always like having something to say like the, I wouldn't say the Tales of series is always the pinnacle of writing, but when I think of some of the best JRPG stories that I can think of, it's always from the Tales of series. Um, like if one of the ones I'd always go to is like Tales of the Abyss is one of my probably one of my favorite like conclusions to a JRPG. Tales of Berseria was great. Like is this great tale of revenge, and like how like it's it's weird because like on one hand like I am totally with you, but I think I'm maybe I'm given the amount of time I've played gotcha games, I'm a bit jaded from that perspective because coming from something like well first like Fake Randoria, yes it's a very like anime story, it's also telling like this very dark tale of like the um going throughout time and stopping all these like world-ending events, and it has this great finale at the end of the first part with this very touching scene where you have a reveal of this reveal from a main like one of the main casts that you grew to love throughout the time, and like you have to say goodbye to him. It's really one of the most touching parts of the story. Now the rest of the story can be very awful at times and very fan servicey, but then you have this like really sad and touching thing. And then I go into something like Magia Record, which I think is completely propelled by its character writing and its story. And it's like the Madoka Magica is a very uncomfortable universe in general. It deals with dark themes and whatnot, but like Magia Record, like even I would say even on its more like silly events or like when you're dealing with like maybe like the summer events, is they're always having like these darker, more mature storylines. Like maybe you'll have some goofy stuff at times too, but like there's always this sense of loss and melancholy in Magia Record.
I'm just
And
like
even though it's
like I'm not
even though it's
invalidating
Magic,
any of your like experiences
yeah,
with these
no,
stories, and they probably are good stories. I think just personally, I'm like I am unnerved by like telling a great story, but then on the side like selling these characters to you like slabs of meat. I don't know, like
oh no, I don't,
it just makes me uncomfortable. It's like on one hand, here's like a cool story, and then on the other hand, there's like some people are gonna form like borderline parasocial relationships with these characters.
yeah.
Let's like give them art that they could then print onto a body pillow.
Well, well, and maybe this is where some of your discomfort comes from. But let's put it this way: um, gotcha games generally are the bottom of the barrel of gameplay. It's a lot of just simple JRPGs where you just do a lot of grinding to strengthen your 4 and 5 star characters, so you can beat stages that you can't beat without grinding a lot. Like the game, like you're not selling the game on the gameplay. You are not selling the game just on the art, because if you're just selling it on the art, then why would people purchase your game? Well, purchase your characters. You're not selling it based off of just this property, because if you were just having a game with some famous property, then what's going to keep people around? One of the best ways to keep people engaged in long service, like if you don't have gameplay to back it up, is a story. Like I'm thinking of like like the only other like thing I can think of is like having a strong PvP element. So I would say another example, like so if you're talking about like a game, like you have gotcha games really rely on their stories to be able to keep pulling people in, and like well stories or like fun events over and over again to keep hooking people in, because you can lose interest very easily.
I mean, I'm not like saying gacha games shouldn't have stories. I mean, I guess the entire concept of a gacha game is just kind of like unnerving, but like I guess more like I feel like you should tell a story that fits what a gacha game is.
What is a gotcha game? What fits a gotcha game?
Well, like I to me like some of where that Tales of game is going with like I don't know cancel culture or whatever. Like it feels like as a subject matter really weird to pair with this strange like it's a game about the issues of like the online kind of internet smartphone culture that's being sold to
Well,
people who are addicted
well, I
to their
wouldn't say. Well, I
phones.
wouldn't say. Well, to be fair, it's not just online smartphone. It's media in general, because like the news media has been doing this thing even before social media. It's like you have small snippets of information. You might have a video recording, and you share it, like, and then it gets posted over every news outlet, and then like it doesn't. It's not necessarily just an analog for social
There's
media.
just
It's
something
worse now because
there's just
yeah,
something
it's worse
dirty
now because
about
of
this
social media.
connection. Like I know that like that's just a general like kind of human nature, society, technology that isn't from the
Mhm.
Stone Age kind of thing. I don't know. I guess I would need to think on it to figure out why it makes me so uncomfortable in this particular context. But like, I mean, let's say
I'll be
like if the Fire Emblem Heroes story was good, it would be like and had interesting characters and an interesting world or something, then like I think I would like that more than a game that draws attention to like how weird what I'm doing is. If like I don't know, like just be a gotcha game. I don't know. Like it's a game about
no
like
no.
finding
Can
cool
I? Okay.
characters. Maybe a story that's more about endearing me to the characters, like
Can I?
primarily,
Can I?
and not like I don't know. This is a weird topic.
Uh, Okay. Can I? Can I? Maybe pose something else.
Sure.
Um. Is it really? Is your uncomfortableness with this really because it's a gotcha game, or is it just a very uncomfortable subject in general? And regardless if you watch this in a show or if you watch this play in any other game, like wouldn't you have similar
Well,
feelings? Because this is not.
here's the thing. I like a lot of art that makes me uncomfortable. I suppose that the biggest, like the most obvious comparison here would be Black Mirror, the TV show, which I think is great. Um, so yeah, I'm okay with seeing. I like seeing these subjects being explored. Um, I just like the gotcha industry and just mobile games in general are just like a platform that like is built on like to be honest, like I'm not saying that you're like problematically attached. I know that you enjoy these games and
Yeah,
maybe you spend like
I am
a
probably. I
reasonable
am.
amount of money, but
Uh,
like
it's not just it's not okay. Let's be real. It's not just money. It's the time because you always have
yeah,
to
right. No,
like
it's part of your
it's
lifestyle and
yeah
stuff. Like I'm not saying that you're the most like hopelessly addicted person ever, but like
yeah.
this industry thrives on people who are and people who uh don't know like, don't know what else to do with their money and instead of like freaking I mean it's gambling, right? Like it's straight up
Yeah,
gambling.
yeah.
And it's
Like
like
gaming loot
everything
box. No.
it's everything that people have complained about in like mainstream games like Star
Mm,
Wars or whatever and like
mhm.
think is problematic except the entire thing is that it's basically a loot box with a story in
Yeah.
it that appeals to like not that this is just like a percentage of them but people who are probably lonely and want to see some titties. I don't know. Like
That's
it's
fair.
just and I don't have any problem with you enjoying these games and I think there's probably cool stories in them, but like just in general it feels like it's a kind of a dystopian idea. Like in terms of capitalism, I don't know. So like to see it like trying to like deal with like man, society's like kind of fucked up. It's like dude, you're fucked up. Like just tell a dumb story. I don't know. It's like I feel like it's almost not the game's place to do so. And like I don't know. That's a very underdeveloped opinion. It's just like sort of an instinct that I'm just giving a name to right now.
Mhm.
Um, that's kind of what I thought about. I like art that does talk about stuff like this. I just feel it's weird for like imagine if like you're at like the slot machine and like it started telling you a story about how gambling is bad.
I'm gonna present two arguments.
Sure.
One, I think in some ways, mobile. I'm finding that mobile games and I think by nature being mobile games, it's gonna lean more into gotcha. Is actually kind of one of the easiest ways for to like like to engage with storytelling in a way, being able to like have these these set of chapters that like maybe like there's 3 or 4 chapters released at launch. You can go through each part of the chapter at your own pace, and being able to like just engage with the story casually is actually really comforting and being like
Right, because
in some ways I think it's
you might not have
yeah
sought out Black Mirror, right? You might not have like looked for
yeah
a show that's depressing or thought provoking on purpose, but you like your gotcha game, and it's like just part of your
yeah
relaxing kind of daily routine, and
yeah
so like it's kind of an
it,
interesting way to smuggle a
but
story into your regular life, I suppose.
the and this is where I'm gonna kind of lead into things. Like in some ways, I think gotcha games are in some places the perfect place to be doing experimental or sort of these types of stories that you wouldn't necessarily say are safe to do in any other type of media.
Right.
Like if you're making a $60 game where you're putting millions of like a couple $1 million into this experience or a movie or whatever, and like you're like, oh, I have this like idea I want to tell people. I have this like really um like maybe like experimental or very like uh risky story I want to say. Like Gacha games are in some place the best places to be doing that
Right, because
because
the story is
on
easy to
one hand,
produce, right? Oh, the game's sorry,
well,
the
well,
game's easy to produce. It's not like a huge
well,
monetary risk.
but no, it's not just that. One, like if you're dealing with something that's an established franchise, like I think this is one of the reasons why something like Magic Record works is like, and you can have such like a melancholic like story that kind of it kind of shunts what you'd expect from a gotcha game. Like it subverts a lot of that. Like, oh, ha ha ha, we're having this summer event. Oh my gosh, we're suddenly like looking into a murder mystery during a summer event. Like, you got these characters in sexy outfit. Oh, they're really depressed and shit, and like
They're sexy, but
it's
they're
not all
not happy
happy.
about it.
Yeah, it's like it kind of like where something like Fake Grand Order is like, oh, summer event. Let's have a fucking drag race that goes on for weeks, man. Let's have all the players like choose teams in a drag race and have like all these historical characters gender swapped in sexy outfits, like drag racing through a desert, man.
Sure.
Fucking weed. Yeah, like gotcha games. Gacha games can be the lowest of the low, but they can also, as shown as with Faye, it's like very easy sources of money. It's like they can be a place where you can put a story. A lot of people are probably just going to skip through the story because they want to have their characters, but at the same time, it's there for the people that want to have the story. And if in a lot of ways, having a really good or a really like standout story can be a way to get people more invested in the game without it being a risk. Like if you're only releasing 3 or 4 chapters, you're only putting the development time in for like if maybe like a month or so worth of content, and if it does poorly, you can scrap it there. Not that much money lost. If it gets popular, like it's low risk, incredibly high reward, and a lot of that reward is not even tied into how good the story is. If it's a good story, it will help the game a lot, but you're really giving this opportunity for writers to just like have fun or do what they want in a safe environment without the risk of great monetary loss. Because I can think of so many like properties with great stories, but the rest of the game didn't do well, and then the rest of the game, the rest of the like either the gameplay, the graphics, or some other part of the presentation prevented it from being a hit, and then you have this great story that is lost in time.
I guess it's kind of like being able to make a visual novel, like with all those benefits, except it's like attached to like a structure and a rhythm and like a place in people's lives, and way more potential money.
And then you have that steady stream of content that you can have like go out over like like months and stuff, and like, oh, it's you have this one chapter that comes out now, and you have these other events to keep people occupied. They're engaging in the story, and then every time something new is released, it's like, oh, this is exciting. There's more.
It
story.
makes the story a
And then you get
platform that can be like added to
Yeah.
and alive and progress over time.
And then you have the best part of gotcha stories is when you get to the finales. Like this is true for both Fake Grand Order and Magia Record. The finales for the first part were some of the hypest shit. Like you had these massive raids where you have like this boss going on, like that takes multiple days to knock off, but you have a time limit to beat. Like you had like Fake Grand Order where I think you had like 13 separate raid bosses leading into one massive raid boss in the middle, and we had like a week to beat it before New Year's. That shit was hype as fuck. Magia Record, we had like this like
Right. Well, there's this
mythical
communal aspect to it, right? So
yeah,
that's
and
kind of
like
neat.
and it's like, and even if you're not engaging with the community, just like knowing that you have all these other players contributing, you seeing these numbers going down rapidly, and in some, and actually, what's one of the fun things about like being in North America is kind of comparing to the Japanese players' times for knocking out these raids as opposed to what the North America time is. You have like this comparison, you have this knowledge going into it of what happened, and like the Magic Record final raid was nuts because like it was like you're facing off against Valpurgisnacht, which is this like legendary like witch that like destroyed cities, is like the main antagonist from the first from like the magic the Madoka Magica anime. It's like a really big fucking deal, and is like the penultimate thing of like magical girls can't beat this thing. And then you spend like a solid like half a week with all the players in the server beating the witch that that isn't supposed to be beatable, and it feels so fucking good when you get to that finale. You're watching all of these characters you grew in love with and fell in love with over the course of the chapter, like all these side characters that popped in for events and stuff, all teaming up to take down this impossible foe, and then they do it, and it's satisfying, you know. And if the writers then have the freedom to write the story that they wanted to tell, like this is not a story you could have told in like a traditional format. Madoka Magica might be a big property, but it's not something that like.
No,
like,
you've pointed out things that are like that are unique to
yeah.
the gacha version of it, or like
Yeah.
because it was so accessible that so many different people could get involved, and like
Yeah.
it obviously became a big community thing that everyone contributes to in a way that would be asinine in a different genre of game. Like again, I don't want to just
Yeah,
completely shit on the
no.
idea of stories in gacha games.
Yeah, no, but that's not the point. Like I get what you're saying about like this like kind of like about the type of story that Crestoria is telling for a gacha game. It is weird, but I don't think that story could have been really found anywhere else. Like it's this sort of topic is such a touchy subject. I don't know if any like I don't know what company or like what producer would have taken that risk outside of something that is relatively low risk.
Well, in that case, I kind of just think that in and of itself is a problem. But
Oh yeah, no, I can agree with you with that. Fuck that.
but I get where you're coming from. Hey,
Yeah.
I kind of got to wrap this up because I have
Yeah, no, I got you.
a date.
Oh.
I'm meeting someone from a dating app, uh, who I've never met before. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
I wish you the best of luck. Like even if it doesn't work out, I hope you have a good time.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I'm hoping for. That's my main expectation. Just have a nice time meeting somebody.
Fuck.
Uh,
Fuck. I couldn't even talk about Sinnoh Alice today. I got so much caught up in the Crestoria
Hey,
talk
man.
because I wanted to. I wanted to brag about my guild reaching S rank today. Like
you stuck it in there.
that's a
You got
fucking
there.
big deal. Yeah, it's a pretty fucking big deal. I mean, the game's been out for a month and we hit S rank, and that means we we don't even have a full set of members. One of our members has like gone like quit the game, and like we still have them in, so we get the CPU to like give us their buffs and stuff.
I'm
like,
extremely proud of you. I respect where
Yeah, I
you're
know we
at.
gotta get to- yeah.
I love it. You're an
I wa-
S rank Chad, but
I know. I'm just.
I don't have
You
much
got more.
time to get ready.
I've gone over time for my stuff. I've got to go make some lamb and chips and shit, and it's gonna be great.
That sounds fucking delicious. This has been Pros on a Landfill. Signing off. Buy our gacha game.
Soon.
Don't you want to pull like
I wanna
one of our various fucking weird characters out of it?
I mean, like, there's there's not a lot of Landfill lore, so like, there'd be like 10 versions of each of us.
Yeah. Brett, Christmas Brett, Bikini Brett. Wait, I don't have a bikini.
Yet, signing off.